Hello everyone, this is Raju demonstrating the thoracic vertebrae. Here in this view, we can get the thoracic vertebrae which are arranged in order. As we have learned about the ribs in the thoracic cavity and the thoracic skeleton, we do have a little idea about the thoracic vertebrae also. There we studied the ribs, typical and atypical ribs in detail. Here also, the vertebral column consists of the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and the sacral and the coccyx, in which we are at the second segment of the vertebral column after the cervical vertebrae. The thoracic vertebrae are 12 in number. As we observe in the thoracic region, the concavity is present on the anterior side in the curvature. The upper part of the thoracic vertebrae or the upper segment of the thoracic vertebrae will be similar to the cervical vertebrae, whereas the lower segment of the thoracic vertebrae are similar to the lumbar vertebrae. As earlier we have mentioned, there are 12 in number, 1 to 12 in series. In this view, we can see the lateral side of the thoracic vertebrae along with their transverse process and spinous process. If you observe the spinous processes, they are oblique in nature, directed downwards and backwards. And the bodies of the upper vertebrae are smaller compared to the lower part of the thoracic segment. The lower part of the thoracic vertebral bodies are larger in size like the lumbar vertebrae. We just add the little importance of the thoracic vertebrae while studying the thoracic region and even the clinically important vertebral levels also. First, we note the T4 and T5, the junction for which we locate the sternal angle opposite to the T4 and T5 junction, and 5, 6 and 7 are important for the location of roots of the lungs, and 8, 10 and 12 are the vertebral levels which are studied for the purpose of the structures piercing the diaphragm, and the 11 and 12 vertebral bodies are studied while studying the sympathetic chain in relation with. Now we'll continue with the thoracic vertebrae. First, we have introduced the thoracic vertebrae. Then we are going to study the surface marking, how to locate the thoracic vertebrae. First, we locate the thoracic vertebrae from the cervical region. C7 vertebral prominence or the C7 cervical vertebrae along with its vertebral prominence can be located, and next we move in an order towards the thoracic vertebrae downwards, thoracic 1 to 12. If we have all the thoracic vertebrae in our hands or in front of us, how to separate these thoracic vertebrae? The basic difference between the cervical vertebrae and thoracic vertebrae is the lack of foramina transverse area in thoracic vertebrae, whereas in case of cervical vertebrae we can find the foramina transverse area. Then how to differentiate these from the lumbar vertebrae? The bodies of the lumbar vertebrae are larger in size and along with the remaining features, and here we can see the peculiar feature of or the cardinal feature of the thoracic vertebrae is the presence of the demifacets. For the purpose of articulation of ribs, we can locate. Here we can locate the demifacets and the facets as well. Here I will show you the demifacets, which are meant to articulate with the ribs. The body upper border consists of its demifacet, and the lower border also consists of a demifacet. Now we'll observe the features of a typical thoracic vertebra. The typical thoracic vertebra, we can see from above, the body is of, you can see the body which is of heart shape, and we can find the vertebral foramen and the vertebral arch with the presence of the laminae, the transverse process, superior articular processes, and the spinous process and the inferior articular processes. Now we can see, along with the body consists of, now we will explain in detail each and every feature. Here we can see the body. The body is of heart shape. It is flat from superiorly as well as from the inferior aspect also. It is flat in nature. And the shape of the body, if you observe, it is more or less the heart shape. You can appreciate the heart shape of the body. Then on the sides of the body, you can locate the superior articular facet, demifacet, and inferiorly located demifacet. Here you can see clearly the demifacet. Two demifacets are there. The lower one is the larger and the upper one is the smaller. Lower one is the larger one and the upper one is the smaller one in a typical thoracic vertebra. Then in continuation with that, you can observe this, the extension on the posterior side, the foot-like process called as the pedicle. It connects the body with the remaining vertebral arch part. Now we can see, and in between them there is a gap called as vertebral foramen connecting the cervical and till the coccyx. The all vertebral foramina joined together called as vertebral canal, which passes the structures along with the spinal cord and the remaining neurovascular structures. Now we just go behind. Here we can see one elevation. It's a process called as superior articular process directed upwards, and whereas posterior to this one we can see the facet which is flattened in nature, which is directed posteriorly and slightly directed towards the lateral side even. Then this location or this type of feature will give an extra movement or slight rotation at the level of thoracic region, the superior articular facets along with its process. Then we can see in the same manner below, the inferior articular process can be seen. Inferior articular, my thumb is showing the inferior articular process. Along with, you can see the inferior articular facet. Here we can get the facet. I'll show you clearly. Here we can get the inferior articular facet. Now it is seen clearly. It's flattened in nature even. Now here you can see the spinous process, above which you can get the laminae on the both the sides. Here there is a spinous process. It's a lengthy one, and at the level of the beginning or the first segment, superior segment consists of, it's a horizontal one. As you go down, the spinous process gets an obliquity. It is more oblique in nature as you go down, and after the lower middle segment and in the lower segment we can see the same spinous process horizontal like the lumbar one. Now we can see the laminae, both sides, and the spinous process. It is not bifid like the cervical vertebrae. Then you can locate the two transverse processes, upper part, lower part, and the tip of the transverse process you can locate. Then we'll see the anterior aspect of this transverse process with its typical feature, which is important to understand. Yes, here we are able to see the transverse process with its concavity, the facet over the transverse process with its concavity. First it is flattened in nature, and later on in the lower segment it is concave in nature to articulate with the articular facet over the rib. So now it is clear. So we are able to locate the facet over the transverse process. So these are the typical features of the thoracic typical vertebrae. Superior articular facet and the inferior articular facet, then the concavity of the facet over the transverse process can be located. We try to appreciate the demifacet, which is located on the superior side, which is larger compared to the lower one, the articulation of the corresponding rib. If it is of second one, here definitely there will be second rib is articulated. Now, by keeping the typical thoracic vertebra aside, we just move to the atypical thoracic vertebrae. What is meant by atypical here? The atypical meaning is like that, the one which are not having the typical features. What is the typical feature here in case of the thoracic vertebrae? Whether it consists of the facets over the transverse process and the demifacets over the body, upper border as well as lower border, and the demifacets, the meaning of facet is complete facet here, the demifacet is half facet. First we speak about the facets. If there are no facets over the transverse process, definitely they are of 11th and 12th ones. I repeat, if there are no facets over the transverse process, they are of 11th and the 12th ones. Now we can see here there is a facet. Now I'll show in detail one by one. And what about the next step? If there are demifacets, definitely they are of the typical ones. Now we move to the demifacets. So the major description is about the demifacets and the complete facet. For example, if there are demifacets, we consider them as the typical ones. If there is a single demifacet even, it is not considered as a typical one. So definitely it is a typical one. Now we move to the demifacets one by one. So demifacets, if they are two demifacets, definitely it is of typical one like this, demifacets. Now we'll move to the atypical feature of T1. So now we consider the T1 or the thoracic 1, 9, 10, 11 and 12 are atypical ones. I repeat, 9, 10, 11 and 12 thoracic vertebrae are considered as the atypical ones, including the 1. I repeat, 1, 9, 10, 11 and 12 thoracic vertebrae are considered as the atypical ones. If you observe the body of the first thoracic vertebra, it is like the cervical vertebra with its widened body and the beveled elevation around the border. You can observe this one. and the foramen is of circular in shape. So foramen is not like the triangular cervical one. Here you can see it's similar to, little bit similar to the cervical one. But what is the atypical feature of it one? Now we'll see comparing with the typical one. Typical one has the demifacet over it, and whereas the thoracic one or the first thoracic vertebra consists of a complete facet over it. Now it is clear, if it is a demifacet, definitely it is of a typical one. As it consists of a complete facet over it, definitely it is of T1. T1. Here you can see this is of the demifacet. Only one demifacet we are able to see. Only one demifacet, which is considered as the ninth one with its single demifacet on the body superior border. We confirm it as the ninth thoracic vertebra. We compare it with the typical one. Typical one has the demifacet and the lower demifacet also, whereas this ninth one has the upper demifacet only. Now here we can see the nearby the body over the upper border, we can find the complete facet or the whole facet, or simply we can call it as a facet even. Compare with the typical one. Here we can see the larger complete or whole facet is there over the border, can be considered as a 10th one. It's considered as a 10th one along with its facet over the transverse process, along with its facet over the transverse process, with its complete facet or whole facet over the body upper border. This is the 10th one. Compare this typical one and the atypical feature. Now we are at the 11th and the 12th one. You can see the major difference between the 11th and the 12th one. Here we can see the complete or the whole facet on the upper border is nearby the pedicle, but that can be considered as the junction between the body and the pedicle. It is not lying its original position, it is crossing its limits and encroaching towards the pedicle. Then the 12th one you can see it is the large which is located in the center over our body, between the body and the pedicle, and is more over the pedicle. The complete large facet can be seen, so it is confirmed as the 12th one. And we can find the transverse processes also. Even we can observe the transverse processes also. There are no facets over the transverse processes, whereas the 12th one you can see the tubercles, 3 tubercles can be located over the 12th transverse process. And the spinous process of the 12th one you can see it is horizontal, quadrangular in shape like the lumbar vertebrae. And here also you can see the body is larger compared to the remaining thoracic vertebrae. Now we will compare the first one, is a typical one with its demifacets. Here the 11th one, complete facet towards the pedicle, is a complete facet over the pedicle. So 12th one, there are no facets over the transverse processes. Now we can observe all these thoracic vertebrae at a time. This first one with its atypical feature like the complete facet on the upper border. Then this one is with its demifacets, it's a typical one. Then this is of ninth one with its demifacet on the upper border, and this is of, here we could see all the thoracic vertebrae which are located identified with their typical and atypical features. Here the T1, that's complete facet, the demifacet. Then the typical one, the demifacet, that's lower demifacet. The ninth one, the upper demifacet. Here it's the 10th one, the complete facet over the upper border. This is the 11th one, the complete facet encroaching towards the pedicle, the lack of the facet over the transverse process, and the complete facet over the pedicle and with its lack of facet over the transverse process and with its tubercles. 3 tubercles over the transverse process of 12th one, and the horizontally located quadrangularly appearing the spinous process. Again, we are trying to hold the thoracic vertebrae in anatomical position. The body is directed anteriorly and the spinous process directed posteriorly. This is anatomical position. Now we discuss about the attachments. The anteriorly, the body consists of vertically located anterior longitudinal ligament, whereas on the posterior side you can find this vertebral foramen, anterior aspect of the vertebral foramen. Now we can locate the body of a typical thoracic vertebra, anterior part where you can locate the vertically located anterior longitudinal ligament, and in the same manner the posterior aspect of the same body you can locate foramina through which the veins will pass and over which you can locate the posterior longitudinal ligament. Next, over the transverse process, the tip of the transverse process gets the attachment of lateral costotransverse ligament, whereas the inferior one gets inferior aspect or the inferior border of the transverse process gets the attachment of superior costotransverse ligament, and the anterior aspect of the same transverse process gets the attachment of inferior costotransverse ligament. Then the lamina gets the attachments of ligamenta flava. The lamina gets the attachments of ligamenta flava. The muscles attached to the transverse process, usually there will be levator costae, and where the corresponding rib is attached, there we can see the radiate ligament also. In ribs we had discussed about the radiate ligament, triradiate ligament we call it as. Then there will be costotransverse joints as well, costovertebral joints also, superior articular facets and inferior articular facets, wherever they are there, they are the joints. Then we can see levator costae muscles, and the transverse process gets not only the transverse process gets the intertransverse ligaments, and the muscles, mainly the spinous process gets the attachments of the trapezius, latissimus dorsi, then the rhomboids muscle, spinalis muscle, semispinalis muscle, longissimus muscles, iliocostalis thoracis, longissimus thoracis, spinalis thoracis, semispinalis thoracis, multifidus muscles, and in between them there will be a group of muscles called erector spiny group of muscles, and rotatus muscle, interspinal muscles connecting the two spines, like that. So now we are coming to the ossification. Appears the body, the centrum we call it as, and the neural arch will be appearing during 8th and 9th week of intrauterine life. Later on they get fused between the third and sixth year. The secondary centers will be 5 in number, and for processes, for transverse process 2, and the spine 1 for the spine 1, and for the body anterior part and posterior part 2. So totally there will be 5 secondary centers which will ossify by 25th year. Now we move to the clinical anatomy. Usually we could observe the hump over the back, especially over the thoracic region, which is called as kyphosis. It's a bent forward position, we can call it as, and that is the clinical aspect regarding the thoracic region. Again, there will be scoliosis can be seen. The vertebral spine is side to side bent, we can see either one's right side or the left side. This considered this clinical condition considered as this scoliosis. And regarding intervertebral disc, there can be prolapse of intervertebral disc when the last clinical aspect is there can be a failure of this neural arch leads to spina bifida is a clinical condition. Now we summarize the whole thoracic vertebrae. We have seen the typical features of thoracic vertebrae with its the demifacets, 2 demifacets, and the facet over the transverse process. And if it has only single demifacet on the upper border considered as the 9th one, if it has the complete facet over the superior border considered as the first one, then the 10th, 11th, and 12th have their atypical features. Like the 10th one has the complete facet over the body nearby superior border. Then the 11th and 12th one, they don't have the facet over the transverse process, whereas the 11th one has the complete facet nearby the pedicle at the junction between the body and the pedicle, and the 12th one has the complete facet over the pedicle. So these are the cardinal features which we learned in detail about the thoracic vertebrae. Thank you very much.